We live our entire lives rushing toward the next moment. We're always going somewhere, always becoming someone, always preparing for something that's going to happen later. We rush through breakfast to get to work, rush through work to get to the weekend, rush through the weekend to get to vacation, rush through vacation to get back to normal life. We are constantly in transit, constantly in preparation, constantly postponing actual living for some future moment when conditions will be perfect for us to finally be present. But what if this rushing is based on a fundamental misunderstanding about the nature of time and the nature of life itself? What if there actually is nowhere to go because you're already here? What if there's nothing to become because you already are? What if the moment you're rushing toward will never actually arrive because when it does, it will be this moment again, the only moment there has ever been or ever will be? This is one of Alan Watts's most profound and practical insights. He saw that our entire relationship with time is backwards. We think of the present moment as a launching pad for the future, as a stepping stone to somewhere else, as preparation for the real event that's coming later. But the present moment isn't preparation for life, it is life. It's not a means to an end, it is the end, the goal, the destination you've been seeking all along. Think about what you're actually rushing toward. When you get to work, you're thinking about lunch. When you get to lunch, you're thinking about the end of the day. When you get to the end of the day, you're thinking about the weekend. When you get to the weekend, you're thinking about vacation. When you get to vacation, you're thinking about getting back to normal life. When you get back to normal life, you're thinking about retirement. When you get to retirement, you're thinking about what? This is what Watts called the eternal pursuit of the carrot. Always chasing something that's dangling just out of reach, never noticing that you're already where you need to be. You spend your whole life preparing to live, getting ready to be happy, working toward the moment when you can finally relax and enjoy yourself. But that moment never comes, because when it arrives, your habitual mind immediately starts looking for the next thing to prepare for, the next goal to achieve, the next moment to rush toward. Meanwhile, life is happening right now. The sunset you're missing because you're thinking about tomorrow's meeting. The conversation you're not really present for because you're mentally planning your evening. The meal you're not tasting because you're worried about your afternoon deadline. The hug you're not feeling because you're preoccupied with next week's problems. You're like someone who spends an entire concert looking at their phone, checking the time, thinking about what they're going to do after the concert is over. They paid for the ticket. They showed up at the venue. They're sitting in the perfect seat. But they're missing the entire performance because their attention is everywhere except where the music is actually happening. This is what most of us do with our lives. We show up, but we're not present. We're physically here, but mentally elsewhere. We're always in transition, always on our way, always preparing for the next thing. We've become so habituated to rushing that we've forgotten how to arrive, how to be where we are, how to experience the moment we're actually in. But here's what Watts understood so clearly. There is only this moment, not as a philosophical concept, but as the most practical and immediate reality. The past exists only as memory arising right now. The future exists only as imagination happening right now. Your entire life, every experience you've ever had, every experience you ever will have, can only happen in this eternal now. This means that rushing toward the future is literally impossible. You can think about the future, plan for the future, worry about the future, but you can only do these things right now in this moment. You can remember the past, regret the past, learn from the past, but you can only remember right now, regret right now, learn right now. There is nowhere else to be because there is nowhere else. When you really understand this, not intellectually but experientially, everything changes. You stop trying to get somewhere else because you realize you're already here. You stop trying to become someone else because you realize you already are. You stop postponing life because you realize life is happening right now, whether you're paying attention to it or not. This doesn't mean you stop planning, setting goals, or working toward things you care about. It means you do these things from presence rather than absence, from here rather than there, from now rather than later. You can make plans for tomorrow while being fully present today. You can work toward future goals while completely engaging with present tasks. You can prepare for what's coming while fully experiencing what's here. The key is understanding what Watts called the eternal now. The recognition that this moment is not a slice of time between past and future, but the timeless context in which all time appears. This moment is not temporary, it's eternal. It's not one moment among many, it's the only moment there is, constantly refreshing itself, constantly renewing itself, constantly offering itself as the gift of pure presence. When you live from this understanding, rushing becomes unnecessary because you're already where you need to be. Hurrying becomes impossible because there's nowhere to hurry to. Postponing becomes meaningless because there's no later that's separate from now. You can move quickly when speed is appropriate, but without the frantic energy of someone trying to escape the present moment. You can be efficient and productive, but without the underlying anxiety of someone who believes they're late for their own life. This shift in relationship to time transforms everything. Your work becomes more enjoyable because you're actually present for it instead of mentally living in the post-work future. Your relationships become more intimate because you're actually with people instead of thinking about what you're going to do next. Your daily activities become more satisfying because you're actually experiencing them instead of rushing through them to get to something else. You begin to discover that the moments you've been rushing through are actually full of richness, beauty, and meaning that you've been missing. The taste of your morning coffee, the feeling of water on your skin in the shower, the texture of air moving in and out of your lungs, the miracle of your heart beating without any conscious effort on your part, the extraordinary ordinariness of being alive in this particular body, in this particular place, at this particular moment in the history of the universe. These aren't consolation prizes while you wait for the real event to begin. These are the real event. This is what you came here to experience. This is what all your searching and striving and rushing have been trying to bring you back to. The simple, immediate, perfect reality of being present in your own life. But why is it so difficult to stay present? Why do we have such a strong tendency to rush away from this moment towards some imagined future moment? Watts saw that this comes from what he called the anxiety of being, the unconscious fear that if we're fully here, fully present, fully engaged with what is, we might discover that it's not enough, that we're not enough, that life is not enough. We keep ourselves busy, keep ourselves moving, keep ourselves focused on the future because being completely present requires a kind of courage, the courage to face reality as it actually is, rather than as we think it should be. When you're rushing toward the future, you can maintain the fantasy that someday things will be different, better, more satisfying. But when you're fully present, you have to deal with whatever is actually here right now. This can be uncomfortable at first if you're not used to it. You might discover feelings you've been avoiding, thoughts you've been suppressing, or aspects of your life that need attention. You might realize how much of your mental energy has been spent elsewhere, how much of your emotional life has been postponed, how much of your actual experience you've been missing. But you might also discover something wonderful, that this moment, exactly as it is actually extraordinary. Not because it contains everything you want, but because it contains everything that actually is. Not because it's perfect according to your preferences, but because it's perfect as itself, complete, whole, lacking nothing, because it includes everything that's actually present. When you stop rushing and start arriving, you begin to see that you've been looking for satisfaction in all the wrong places. You've been trying to find peace in achieving future goals, but peace is only available right now. You've been trying to find joy in reaching future destinations, but joy is only accessible in this moment. You've been trying to find love in future relationships, but love is only real when it's happening now. This is why Watts often said that the spiritual life is not about getting somewhere else, but about being where you are. It's not about becoming someone else, but about being who you are. It's not about achieving some special state, but about recognizing the specialness of whatever state you're already in. This recognition doesn't require years of meditation or spiritual practice, although these can certainly help. It's available right now. As you read these words, as you breathe this breath, as you exist in this moment, you don't need to do anything to access it, except stop doing everything that takes you away from it. You don't need to achieve presence. You need to stop achieving your way out of presence. This is the great paradox of rushing. The more you hurry toward what you want, the more you miss what you already have. The more you try to get to the good stuff, the more you overlook the good stuff that's right in front of you. The more you chase the perfect moment, the more you abandon the perfectly good moment that's actually here. When you understand this, you can begin to practice what's called goalless activity, engaging fully with whatever you're doing without being focused on where it's leading. You can wash dishes just to wash dishes, not to get them done. You can walk just to walk, not to get somewhere. You can have conversations just to connect, not to accomplish something. You can work just to express your creativity and contribute your gifts, not just to reach some future reward. This doesn't mean becoming aimless or irresponsible. It means discovering that when you're fully present with what you're doing, you naturally do it better, more creatively, more effectively than when you're mentally somewhere else. It means finding that when you stop trying to rush through life, life actually becomes more efficient, more harmonious, more satisfying. You begin to move through your days like a dancer rather than a sprinter. There's still rhythm, still direction, still purposeful movement, but without the frantic energy of someone trying to escape where they are. You learn to travel through time the way you might travel through a beautiful landscape, not rushing to get to the end, but enjoying every step of the journey. This is what Watts meant when he talked about living in the eternal now. It's not about believing in some mystical concept of time. It's about recognizing the simple practical truth that your entire life happens in the present moment, and therefore the present moment deserves your full attention, your complete presence, your total engagement. When you give the present moment this kind of respect, something magical happens. Time seems to slow down, not because you're moving more slowly, but because you're actually experiencing the time you have instead of mentally living elsewhere. Life becomes richer, not because you're doing more things, but because you're fully experiencing the things you're already doing. You discover that you don't need more time. You need to be more present with the time you have. You don't need better moments. You need to be more awake to the moments you're given. You don't need to rush toward a better life. You need to stop rushing away from the life that's already here. This is the ultimate teaching about time that flows through all of Watts' work. There is nowhere to go because you're already here. There is nothing to become because you already are. There is no later because there is only now. And this now, this eternal, ever-present, constantly refreshing moment, is not a stepping stone to somewhere else. It's the destination itself. Stop rushing. You've already arrived. This is it. This is your life. This is the moment you've been preparing for your entire existence. Not the next moment, not the better moment, not the perfect moment that's coming later. This moment, right here, right now, complete in itself, perfect as it is. The only moment there has ever been or ever will be. And the beautiful thing is that when you finally stop rushing toward this moment, you discover that this moment has been patiently waiting for you all along, not going anywhere, not getting impatient. Just here, always here, offering itself fully, completely, eternally, for as long as you're willing to receive it. The deepest irony of human existence is that we spend our whole lives running toward a future that never comes, missing the eternity that's always here. We exhaust ourselves chasing tomorrow while paradise unfolds ignored in today. But when you finally stop, when you finally arrive, when you finally recognize that you're already home in this eternal now, you discover what mystics have always known. Time was never your enemy. Rushing was. The present moment isn't a stepping stone to somewhere else. It's the destination itself. Stop rushing toward your life and start living it. It's been waiting for you all along, disguised as this ordinary, extraordinary, perfect, eternal now. If this message resonated with you, subscribe for more wisdom from Alan Watts that can transform how you experience life. Your journey into presence starts now.